All right, all right. Good morning, good morning. Good, happy day after Christmas. What do we got going on today? Um, since the length of this video is going to be fairly long, this will serve as today's podcast because I don't want to force you guys to listen to 3 hours worth of content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two things in this video. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give every Panther player that has played so far a grade so far in the season. And then at the back end of the video, I'm going to grade myself. I'm going to grade the channel. I'm going to tell you things that I'm happy with, things I'm not happy with. And that will serve more to be as a little bit more like what the podcast generally does. When usually in the beginning of the podcast, that give you guys the lay of the land. So we're going to do that at the back end. So what I'm going to do is going to go over the players one by one. And now in terms of how I'm grading them, I am not grading them against themselves. I'm doing it a little bit differently. Not grading them against themselves. So I'm not comparing Kachuk to his 115-point season or whatever it was last year, 109. I'm not comparing Kachuk to himself. I'm not comparing guys to themselves. I am giving them a grade based on what I feel they bring to the team and how they fulfill the need that each individual player, that what we need from each individual player. So for Bob, I'm grading him based on what I think your starting goalie should bring you, or what this team needs, right? Because every team's dynamics are different in terms of what they need out of guys. And you can get away with weak spots here if you got strong spots here, et cetera, et cetera. I got an itchy nose. So that's how I'm going to be grading guys. Now, the other thing I will say is that, yes, I am a fan. Yes, I am a fan. But it's a couple things. Number one, I watch it on TV. So there's definitely going to be people that might have different opinions. If you get to every game and you watch the games, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't see what I can't see. And the NHL does not make available, like in football, you can buy a package where you get, I think it's called All 22. And you can get basically the coach's film where every play you see the whole field and you see everything as it plays out. I wish hockey would do that, man. If hockey would do that, that would be like just I that's all I would do is I would sit there and break down film and see. Because as you guys know, and this is also part of my grading, guys know I'm wired to find the mistakes in things. So I will be grading them based on what I think they bring to the team. It's just my opinion. I'm a fan, but I'm also, I'm also a hard ass coach. I've been a coach for a long time, not sports, but so I have a tendency to be harder on people than they would otherwise like. So let's get into it. Let's just go. All right. Right off the bat, Sam Reinhart, 33 games played, 19 goals, 21 assists, 40 points. He's a plus 12. He's got 13 penalty minutes, 9 power play goals, a shorthanded goal, and 4 game-winning goals. Now, as we know with Reinhart, obviously, I mean, what is that? That's like, as good as that is, that's about a 100-point pace. I'm not going to go crazy trying to calculate guys' paces and everything, but basically it's about a 100-point pace. We all know everything that goes on there in terms of its career. It's a contract year for him, and he's obviously looking like he's going to have a career year. In terms of what he brings to the team for what we need, when you take everything else into consideration going on with the team, and I'll explain when I get to other players, you can give Sam Reinhart nothing but an A+. It's a slam dunk A+ on his season so far. Next up, the captain, Alexander Barkov, 30 games played, 11 goals, 21 assists, 32 points. plus 14, 10 penalty minutes, 1 power play goal, no shorties, and 2 game-winning goals. I'm going to go ahead and in terms of what this team needs and what we know Barkov can bring and everything else, I'm going to go ahead and also give him an A+, because as I'll get into with some of the other guys, Barkov, what is that? He's on pace for not quite 40 goals, right? Not quite 100 points. He's doing what he does. He's pretty much having the prototypical Barkov season, but I think his scoring just a little bit more. But I don't see him passing as much. I don't see him passing up shots as much. I think he's probably shooting just a little bit more. But much like I'm going to say with Bob, the consistency and of what Barkov brings every night, for the most part, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's probably going to win, he's going to win the Selke most likely. Best defensive forward in hockey, in my opinion. It's not exactly a hot take. So I'm going to give both Reinhart and Barkov an A+. Then we're going to get to Carter Verhaeghe. 33 games played, 16 goals, 12 assists, 28 points, plus 3, 12 penalty minutes, 5 power play goals, no shorties, and 3 game-winning goals. I can't give him anything other than an A+ as well. He's doing for us exactly what we need, which is timely scoring when we need it. He has worked on the defensive parts of his game. I think he's playing the best hockey he's ever played. Can he play better? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But in terms of what this team needs and what, especially, with Tkachuk not scoring and certain other guys not scoring, we've needed Verhaeghe to be there. And, I mean, between Reinhart and Verhaeghe, what's that? See, Verhaeghe has 3 game-winning goals. Reinhart has 4. So, yeah, between the two of them, we have 7 game-winning goals. So that's 3 A+ in my book. I don't think you could ask for anything better from either one of those players. I don't think that they could do anything more for the team than they're doing right now. Next up is Matthew Tkachuk, who will definitely he will be the first one not getting an A+. 33 games played, 5 goals, 19 assists, 24 points. He's a -3. He's got 38 penalty minutes. No power plays, no shorthanded, no game-winning goals from Matthew Tkachuk. 0, as in none. As in Matthew to clutch. Is that what we were calling him? Whatever it is. The dude that single-handedly won how many playoff games in terms of game-winning goals? Not once. Not once. Now, I'm going to take his injury and put it over here on the shelf. I'm not going to make excuses for the most part for why guys are in the position that they're in. If we take Tkachuk at face value and say he's 100% ready to go, I cannot give him anything. Let's see. For what we need, from what this team needs, I'm going to give him a B-. I think a C would be a little bit harsh. You can't sniff an A when you're on pace for 15 goals. You're not even on pace for 15 goals. You're on pace for about 12 goals. So I can't give him an A. No game-winning goals. That's not what we need from Tkachuk. The assists are nice. Before he kind of slumped when Ekblad and Montour came back, he was not quite on pace to break Huberdeau's assist record, but he had it within the realm of possibility. That ship has sailed. 5 goals. One of them is the empty net goal. Now, the why, I mean, you could, if you wanted to say he's 30% diminished from where he was last year, you say 10% of that is the injury, 10% of that is just really, really bad puck luck. And then I would say 10% of that is I don't think he's feeling the pressure to be that guy right now because Reinhart, Barkov, Verhaeghe are lighting it up the way they are. So he's had the luxury of not feeling the pressure, and the team has been doing well. So he doesn't, as he said, he doesn't have to cheat for the extra offense. So I'll give him a B minus because he is playing well on defense. There's nothing he's doing out there that is hurting us or anything like that. But 0 game winning goals is an issue there, and all we can do is hope that it turns around. We'll find out eventually if this is, if he's diminished permanently because of the injury, or if it just kind of appears that way and he's just been having brutal luck, or maybe it's a little bit of both. Next up, Evan Rodriguez, 33 games played, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points, a plus 15, 12 penalty minutes, 1 power play goal, and 1 game-winning goal. So if you had told me that Evan Rodriguez would have better stats than Tkachuk, I might have slapped you upside the head. Anybody would have been laughed at that. The interesting thing there is Rodriguez has 21 points. He's a plus 15. And Tkachuk has 24 points and is a minus 3. So Chucky has definitely been on the ice for some goals against. There's no doubt there. In terms of what Rodriguez is bringing to the team and in terms of what we need, I'm going to give him a B. It kind of might have been a B minus, but that plus 15 will take away the minus. But I'm going to give him a B. He started off, the first 10, 12 games, it kind of looked like, okay, we have our permanent, we've got our guy, right? And as it's gone on, you start to see the holes in his game. He does have a tendency to hold on to the puck a little bit too much. Does have a tendency to make ill-advised passes. And he kind of reminds me, it's an interesting comparison because Jared McCann is a 40-goal scorer now. But he kind of reminds me a little bit of McCann when he was with us, almost. He almost made it happen. He had a chance and almost. So obviously, he's not playing anywhere near what you would consider bad or anything like that. I think a solid B is where he lines up. I definitely feel like he's a guy that can do better. I think he can do better. Now, he's only had the 33 games in this system, okay? He's moved around the lineup a little bit, trying to find a home. And part of his lack of production, obviously, may be related to Lundell and Luosterainen's lack of production, which we'll get into in a little bit. But in terms of Rodriguez, I'll give him a solid B. He's a guy you can win with. We may have been relying on him to be a little bit too much, but that's what happens when you get into salary cap issues. You need guys to play above their board. Next up, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, defenseman, 33 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points, -1, 26 penalty minutes, 1 power play goal, 2 game-winning goals. It's amazing the guys that have game-winning goals without Tkachuk having any. Larsson, in terms of what he brings to this team and what we needed, you cannot give him anything. Honestly, you have to give him an A++. I mean, when you consider the spot that he came in, well, he had an off year last year. People are thinking his career is over, and just boop, there you go, dude. There you go. You're on the top defensive pair on a team that went to the Stanley Cup final last year that has expectations / anticipations, whatever word I'm looking for. A team that is in a cup window. There you go. You're on the top pair. And he kind of should have stayed on the top pair. So I cannot give him anything other than an A++. He has been fantastic. every defenseman gets beat every once in a while. But when I sit here and I try to think about the negative aspects of his game, I can't really come up with much. And hopefully Zito finds a way to keep him around. All right, next up, Anton Lundell, 29 games played, 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points, plus 12 penalty minutes, and zippity doodah on power play, shorthanded, or game-winning goals. In terms of what he brings to this team and what we need from him, I'm going to give him a begrudgingly C+ to a B-. I'll let you guys decide. Because in terms of his offense, it's damn near an F. But in terms of defense, it's pretty much an A+. And then you throw in his penalty killing and the consistency that he brings on defense, especially similar to Barkov. It's disappointing to see just how spectacular his defensive game has become, while it's clearly coming that way in many reasons at the expense of his offensive game. He's on pace for, he's not even on pace for 10 goals. Now, out of your third line center in this system, if you've got the other residual scoring going on, you can get away with a 40-point third line center. That's 15 goals, 25 assists. I think that if it was not Anton Lundell, top round draft pick, who we know can play better, if it was Kevin Stenlin, right, just some guy who's adequate at 3C, we would look at his 35, 40 points and be like, all right, as long as he's doing the job defensively and everything like that. Lundell is still very young. He still needs to put on a little bit of weight. He takes his defensive responsibilities extraordinarily seriously. Now, in terms of what we need on this team, C+ might be a little bit harsh. Because what we really need out of that third line center is consistency in terms of defense. We don't need them to be, a 25, 30 goal scorer. It would be nice if he could reach his potential, and I assume at some point he will. Hopefully it's with the Panthers. But C+, B-, because his defense is so spectacular. But offensively, the 10 assists is not terrible. Okay? That's not terrible. It's on pace for, 25 assists. I'm trying to put an extra bow on the present. You know what I mean? C-, B+, but it's a wild disparity between his offensive grade and his defensive grade. Next up, Niko Mikkola. Games played, 33, 3 goals. So Niko Mikkola has more goals than Anton Lundell. 33 games played, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points, plus 5, 14 penalty minutes, and goose eggs the rest of the way. Again, in terms of what we needed from him and what we need him to bring to this team, I cannot give him anything other than an A. You want to give him an A+, go ahead. Again, he got thrust into a situation where we just basically said, okay, here you go, buddy. We need you to be Brandon Montour for the first month of the season. Go ahead, go. And he's done extraordinarily well. Again, just like with Larson, every defenseman is going to get beat every once in a while. But when I try to think about the deficiencies in his game, nothing really comes to mind. He's shown offensive ability. He has shown the ability to get back if he does pinch. And the consistency, again, is just what we really needed. We needed somebody to come in and not make stupid mistakes and to just hold the fort down. I can't give him anything other than an A. Maybe even give him an A+ because he's probably got a little bit more offensive ability than we had thought. He is signed for a few years. I think it's 3. So good job, Bill. Good job, Bill. All right, next up is Sam Bennett. 21 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points, -1, 45 penalty minutes, 2 power play goals, no shorties, and a game-winning goal. I'm going to go ahead and give Bennett a Banny. We'll give him a B+. We'll give him a B+. And the reason why I'm not going to give him an A is consistency. When he is on, there is no better player that summarizes what the Panthers are and what the Panthers need. And I'm not talking about the injuries when I say this, but there have been nights where he hasn't really been all that noticeable, all that active. Maybe partially, some of that could be injury related. Some of that could be just simply purposefully, pacing himself a little bit because it's a long season. All that is fine. But bottom line is when he turns it on, he's an A+ player. But there's been a few games to where, you know what I mean? You're not really noticing him. But overall, I think I said B+. I believe that's what I said, and I believe that's where we'll go with him. All right, Gustav Forsling, 33 games played, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points, +18, 16 penalty minutes, 1 power play goal, no shorties, and no game-winning goals. Now, in terms of Forsling, boy, I'm just going to have to flat out give him an A+. I'm just going to have to flat out give him an A+, because what we said to him was, okay, here you go. So you're now our number 1 defenseman, okay? And we're going to pair you on the top pair with some guy who didn't play all that well last year, who you've never played with before. Now go make sure we're still in the running for the cup that we expect to win until Ekblad comes back. And it just worked. It just worked. And then what we said to Forsling is we said, okay, now that we know you and Larson are an excellent pair, we're going to take Larson away and we're going to give you this guy Ekblad, who's going to play at least for the first month, 6 weeks, still recovering from an injury. Still needs you to be that number 1 guy and make sure we stay in that cup run. There you go, Gustav. Go out there. And he's done it, and he's played every game. He's done it. He's played every game. If I could give him 3 pluses, I'm going to give him 3 pluses. A++, because he gets an A+ for the player he is. He gets the second plus for how he just melded in with Larson without missing a beat, and then how he's melded in with Ekblad without missing a beat. I think he had 1 bad game. I don't care. It's A++. I mean, you're a defenseman on the top pair, and you're a +18. You're playing the other team's top players. You've got 10 points, and you're a +18. That's good. I mean, that's I cannot express. I know plus minus in some circumstances, many circumstances, can be a flawed stat. It can be a flawed stat when it's a negative because there's always reasons, right? But when you've got your number 1 defenseman as a +18 and he's only got 10 points, that's really, really good. So A+++, just however many pluses you guys want to give him. Oh, yeah. He needs a contract too. Sign him. Please, Bill. Please. All right. Next up, Dmitry Kulikov. Love it. Games played 30. No goals, 9 assists, 9 points. He's dead even in the +- 26 penalty minutes and goose eggs the rest of the way. For what we need, for what his role on this team was, I give him an A-. First couple games weren't spectacular. First 2-3 games, whatever it was, they weren't spectacular. He has handled being in and out of the lineup really well. Whenever he comes back into the lineup, he plays well. Again, every defenseman gets beat every once in a while. But what we have needed from him is just been perfect. What he's given us. If you can hear Fluffy, he's snoring and he's sleeping and he's moving all four legs in his sleep. He's playing in his dreams. So Kulikov again is another guy that's going to get an A. Again, all we asked him to do was, okay, come on in, keep the defense afloat while these guys are out, and then we're going to bring them back too early, and then we're going to take you off the ice, and sometimes we're going to take you off the ice for other guys. Keep a good attitude, and whenever you play, we still need you to play at that high level. And he has. He has. It's just amazing how Zito and Maurice have gotten everybody to just buy into their role, and there's just no attitude issues whatsoever. Next up, Kevin Stenlin, 33 games played, 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points. He's a -4, 34 penalty minutes. And Kevin Stenlin has 2 game-winning goals, while Matthew Tkachuk has none. In terms of what Stenlin has brought to this team, what we needed from him, I gotta give him an A. I really have to give him an A. We bring him in. We say, okay, we had a really good fourth line last year. They helped us get all the way to the Stanley Cup final. We're going to replace Stahl with Stenlin. Here you go, buddy. And then he's had to play 3C for a few games when Lundell was out, and he held his own. He's done well. And I know that, he's already reached his career high in goals with 6, right? So we're not really looking at points there all that much in terms of, you're not worried about how much production, but he's already had good production. But what we've needed, again, defense and consistency, okay? These role players that we bring in, your job is not, I wouldn't say it's not difficult, but it's not fancy. It's don't get beat, don't do anything stupid, and be able to put the puck in the back of the net every once in a while when you get an opportunity. And then if we need to move you up in the lineup, remember how many times last year we had to move Stahl up into the lineup. When we move you up, you got to keep your game. You got to keep your game about you. And he's done that. So in terms of what we ask for him, what we need from our 4C, can't give him anything other than an A. All right, Eetu Luostarinen, 33 games played, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points, -2, 8 penalty minutes, and he's got 1 game-winning goal. I'm going to go ahead and give Luostarinen, I think a C+ might be a little bit harsh. I'll give him a B-. I'll give him a B-. He's been better of late. He's been better the last 10 games. First 20 games, he did not look like himself. I'm not so worried about points and all of that. I'm talking more about the energy that he's bringing, going in, along the boards, digging out pucks, cycling the puck, etc. He did not look like the kid that we saw in the playoffs last year. He wasn't bad. You just, I think, we know that there's more there. I think we all feel like there's more there. So yeah, C-, B+. We'll give him a B+. We'll give him a B+ because he's been playing most of the time with Lundell, who has been struggling on offense. So, and they haven't really, last year it was Lundell, Reinhart, Luostarinen, and you take Reinhart off that line for the most part. And they've played a lot of games with Nick Cousins. So I'm not going to be too hard on Luostarinen. He has looked better. But what I will say with Luostarinen is that he needs to be more consistent with his energy. There's games you don't notice him, and then there's games when he's flying around out there. And, I mean, I get the fact that you can't have your legs all 82 games, okay? But he's one of those guys that when he's on, you want to see more. You know what I mean? Like, give me more of this guy. This guy's on fire. He's crashing into everything and making plays. And so when he doesn't have that energy, it's highly noticeable. So we'll give him a B-. but it wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the season that's more of like a solid B+. Next up, Brandon Montour, 17 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points, -4, 6 penalty minutes, and he's got 1 goal, and it's a game-winning goal. All right. So obviously this is only a half a grade because he's only played half the games. This is a tough one because in terms of what we need from his spot, boy, this is the tough one. I'm just going to give him a solid B. Yeah, he's certainly not at an A. And I feel like a C would be too harsh because he's coming back from injury and everything. He's looked better each game. I mean, he's skating fine. He's skating fine. It's a little bit of a different dynamic right now in terms of the defensive players finding their role and everything because we had it. We had it all set. Larson had his role. Kulikov had his role. Mikkola had his role. Everybody kind of knew what they were doing. And, the defense hasn't really suffered since they came back. So there's nothing to worry about there. Obviously, he had 73 points last year. He's not on pace. He's not on any kind of a pace to do that whatsoever. Contract year, so it's going to be really interesting to see, what goes on in terms of, where does Zito slot him in? Are you looking at, are you going to just take the 73 points as an outlier and base your salary on that, which I think might be the smart thing to do? But Montour is slowly starting to look a little bit more like himself. So I'm just going to give him a solid B. I don't suspect his grade would dip any lower than that. And I think the second half of the season and into the playoffs, I think that's when you're going to see the real Brandon Montour step up. All right, next up, Nick Cousins, 33 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, -9, 16 penalty minutes. And even Nick Cousins has a game-winning goal, but then Tkachuk has none. In terms of what we need on this team from Nick Cousins, I'm going to give him a very, very unfair grade of C. And it's kind of being a little bit generous because unfortunately for Nick Cousins, the way that this team is laid out, we need him in the top 9. And Nick Cousins doesn't belong in the top 9. Okay? So when you look at Lundell and Luostarinen's struggles, a lot of the games they've been playing with Nick Cousins instead of Sam Reinhart. So it's not Cousins' fault that he's put into this position. It works a little bit with Bennett and Tkachuk because then you've got 3 dirty, gritty guys, right? But with all due respect to Nick Cousins, he's not the guy that belongs with Lundell and Luostarinen. You are never going to get the best out of those 2 players with Nick Cousins as their wing. So it's not really a fair grade to him because I think that we're asking him to be a player that he is not. And I suspect that you're going to see that change at some point here. Some of these other fourth line guys that were getting a lot of ice time, Gadjevich, now Lockwood. I think it wouldn't surprise me to see if Nick Cousins could possibly be a guy that gets moved to bring in a scorer, if he's included as part of a piece. I don't know. I mean, he may stick around. Don't get me wrong there, but long term, we need an answer. We need another forward. We need a real top 9 forward. So it's not really overly fair to Nick there. In terms of his fourth line play, he hasn't been on the fourth line a whole hell of a lot. If he was on the fourth line, I think he'd get himself a B grade, right? He's not a guy that's going to hurt you a lot, but he's not a top 9 guy either. All right, Josh Mahura, 17 goals. 17 games played, no goals, 5 assists. -2, 8 penalty minutes, and goose eggs the rest of the way. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to have to give Mahura a D. And that might be a little bit of a harsh grade, but he was nowhere near as good as what we needed him to be when he was on the ice. And I don't think he's been back yet. And that's telling. What Paul Maurice, and the reason why I'm giving him a D is because what Paul Maurice said about Mahura, what he needed from Mahura in the preseason was he said, I need him to play as well as he did last year, but I need him to play more minutes of how he played that way last year. And we did not get that. We have not gotten that version of Josh Mahura at all. He's definitely taken a step back. Certainly, that has something to do with no longer being paired with Gudas. I think some people might have underestimated Gudas's effect on him. I think Mahura still has an opportunity to be a very good defenseman. But in this system with the other players that we have, he's not bringing what we need. D might be a little bit harsh because he's such a young player, but I wouldn't go any higher than C-. We'll just put it that way. All right, next up is Aaron Ekblad. All right, I need a sip of water before we get here. All right. 16 games played, no goals, 4 assists, +6, 20 penalty minutes. Okay. So nobody gets more coverage on this channel than Aaron Ekblad. That is the truth. Stu and I both have interesting relationships with him. I made a video years back where I begged him not to go back out there and play after he had the one concussion because I was worried he was going to get hurt again, which he did. Stu has met him. He's got pictures with him, et cetera, et cetera. So we tend to be pretty hard on the kid because, number one, expectations. And number two, we know how we know the player he was becoming before all of the injuries. But it's not personal. It's just a matter of, that's just how we look at it. Stu has a little bit more, our opinions are not exactly the same. But what I'll say, if I'm going to give Aaron Ekblad a grade so far, and again, this is like a half a grade because the same thing with Montour. In terms of what we need from this team, in terms of what we need from Ekblad on this team, I'm just gonna. I hate to cop. You okay, Fluffy? He's. Hold on a second. I got a timeout here. You okay, bud? All right. Okay. Soon as I start to give Ekblad his grade, Fluffy starts choking. You can't make that up. I'm gonna give him a C. And I think that's even a little bit unfair. And I'm going to tell you why. He's not a top pairing defenseman. And he's not even an offensive defenseman anymore. I still feel as a second or third pairing defenseman, if he was the guy that stayed back and let somebody else be the offensive defenseman, he would be good. Good. Not great, but good enough. But because of his draft status, because of his contract, because of his veteran, because of all of the reasons, we are asking him to be something not only that he is not, but we don't need. And that's the frustrating part. Larson and Forsling was good. We were fine. Now, it's not like things have fallen apart since Ekblad's come back, okay, that we're actually allowing fewer goals. If you watched the video I did last week, we're allowing 0.4 fewer goals a game since Ekblad and Montour came back. We're also scoring 0.4 fewer. So the change has been equal. But I feel like where Ekblad gets himself into trouble is when he starts having to chase. If he's back in position, when he's, and my example of this is on the penalty kill. He's been good on the penalty kill. If you watch him on the penalty kill, he in those short spaces, he's good getting to guys. He's good with his stick. He's been good on the penalty kill. Where he gets himself into trouble is when he tries to play the role of number one defenseman, and he's the offensive defenseman, and then he ends up chasing and all of that. That's where he gets himself into trouble. And at this point, I don't blame him as much as I blame Maurice, because we don't need him to do that. That is the one square peg that we're trying to fit into a round hole. Well, Nick Cousins, I guess, is another one. But I think if you put Ekblad on the second pair, third pair, and he was your stay-at-home guy, I think you'd see a completely different player. But he's not equipped to play the role that we're playing him in. And the frustrating part is we really don't need him to play that role. We don't need him to play that role. We've got Larson wasting away on the bottom pair when realistically it should be Forsling and Larson. And, let Forsling be the guy that has the offense. He's the best defensive skater on the team. All right, let Forsling take that role and let whoever his partner is kind of be the guy that stays back. So I think many of the criticisms of Ekblad are valid, but I think he's being misused at this point. He's not what he was. Like in football, cornerbacks, when they start to get a little bit older or they've had injury issues and they lose that step, they turn them into safeties. And you've had many safeties, Pro Bowl safeties, that started off as corners but had to make the switch because their bodies just couldn't quite do it anymore, but they still can be a damn good player. That's what I think about Ekblad. I think the criticisms are valid for the most part, but I think we're forcing him into a role that he's not equipped for, and we don't need him to be that anymore. And on that, I blame Paul Maurice. That, to me, is a Paul Maurice issue. Next up, Steven Lorentz, 25 games played, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, -7, 6 penalty minutes. And Steven Lorentz has a game-winning goal and Matthew Tkachuk doesn't. If I want to go, I want somebody to show me their DraftKings bet slip that says that you bet Steven Lorentz would have more game-winning goals than Matthew Tkachuk at Christmas. Show me that, and then send me some money. All right. In terms of what Lorentz has been and what we need, I mean, if you want to define his role as don't screw anything up, I guess you could give him a B. If you want to define his role as do anything other than don't screw up, I guess he's all right. He's not bad, but the difference between Stenlin at 4C and Lorentz at 4C was very, very noticeable. And, I mean, you see it there. I know fourth line guys tend to have minus, he's a -7. Okay. He's a guy that you throw out there and he's a body. Let's just be honest. I had hopes that he'd be a little bit better than this. I saw some of his highlights from last year, but in terms of how he's being used in this system and everything, he's literally just a body out there. No offense. Ryan Lomberg, 33 games, 2 goals, no assists. He's even on the plus/minus, 21 penalty minutes. For what we need and everything and what his role is on this team, I'm going to give him a B. But I almost want to give him a B-. Almost. He's been okay. He's not been, in my opinion, as active, as engaged as we normally see. However, this can definitely be one of those points in time where I'm seeing less of him on TV, and maybe he is still doing a lot of the things that he was normally doing, and they're just not showing it. That I leave open the possibility that could possibly be what's happening. So somebody that goes to the game can give me an idea there. I'm definitely not seeing him as involved with scrums and looking like he's got as much energy on the ice as I'm used to. It's not bad. It's just been a little bit different, a little bit off. Kind of like, a lot of the guys, especially at the beginning of the season, a little bit off. Usually we see Ryan Lomberg get, he's not a big goal scorer, but we do see him get a lot more chances than I think he's had so far. But somebody that goes to the games can fill me in there, because a lot of times the stuff that those guys do, they don't really show it on TV as much, and he's not been getting a lot of airtime. You know what I mean? All right, we're coming here to the end. Gadjevich, 9 games. He has 1 assist. He's a -2. He has 43 penalty minutes. In terms of what we need from him on the ice and his role, I can't give him anything other than an A. All right? It's unfortunate he's been sick, so he's been out, so Lockwood has been in. But when Gadjevich is on the ice, other teams are not taking cheap shots at our players. That's his role. And, I don't know how much ice time, I don't know how much he's going to play. But he's certainly a guy that you want to have on your roster as a possible deterrent come playoff time. And the last guy is William Lockwood. He's got goose eggs all the way around, but he is a +1. There's actually an article about him from George out today. Not much to say about Lockwood. I'll just give him a flat B because he hasn't been anything bad, hasn't been anything good, hadn't been anything. I can't believe he's played 11 games. And I can't tell you one thing the kid has done. So in some sense, that's good, because you haven't heard any Lockwood got beat again. So again, we have a collection of fourth line guys that is in a rotation at the bottom there. Gadjevich, Lorentz, Lockwood. Cousins hasn't been there because obviously we need him in the top 9. So with us keeping this rotation of guys there on the bottom, that either makes me feel like I said, like maybe Cousins will get moved, and we're trying to make sure we have viable replacements for him on the fourth line, or we want to develop viable replacements for him on the fourth line in the event that we can't get another forward in and we have to go again into the playoffs with Cousins in the top 9. There's that possibility as well. So we'll give Lockwood a B because he hasn't really done a whole hell of a lot, but he hasn't done a whole hell of a lot. All right, take a sip of drink and we'll get to the goaltenders. All right. Bubba. 25 games started. He's 15-9 with overtime loss, 2.5 goals against, 910 save percentage. So, in terms of what we need from this team, from Bubba, what do we need from Bubba? I can't give him anything but an A. Can't give him anything but an A. We need consistency night in and night out. Those numbers, 2.5 and 910, that's what we need. That is what we need. That's not quite Vezina level, okay? But when this offense is scoring the way this offense should be scoring, 2.5 is, 2-3, 2-3, 2-3, and you're going to win most games with those numbers. This guy is getting better with age. We've talked about it with Stu. I'm not saying I want to trade Spencer Knight, but on the other hand, Bobrovsky's getting better with age, and if you ask Bob, hey, you want to have an extension and you're going to cut your salary in the extension, I would move Knight if it means that you're going to be able to sign Forsling, Montour, Lundell, okay, and Reinhart. If moving Knight's contract means you get to keep all 4 guys, I would move Knight, because there's no reason to. I mean, he'll be languishing in the AHL for how long? Okay, there's just no reason to move on from Bob right now. So don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Again, if it meant we were able to sign all 4 guys because we moved on from Knight's contract, I would make that move. All right. Anthony Stolarz. He has played in 9 games. He started 8. He's 4-3-1. Goals against 218 and this 915 save percentage. I the dude, he's got a weird ability to give up 2 bad goals, but that's all he gives up. And bad might be a bit of a stretch. I got to give him an A. I was a little bit queasy about a couple of his starts, okay? And it is I'm not going to give him an A minus, but it is an A on thin ice because I still would like to see him continue what he's been doing, which is getting better with his consistency. If you look at the game logs from his career, you will see wild fluctuations, okay? The 2 goals against will come because he gives up 5 and then 1 and then a shutout and then 4 and 5 and then 2 shutout 5. So he's been really inconsistent. And he kind of started off the season a little bit like that, but the last several times, I think last 3-4 starts, he's been really good. If that can continue, if he can fix his consistency issue, I mean, if he can give you numbers like this year, you're really in great shape. And again, people have asked me if I think Spencer Knight's going to come up, and the answer is, unless somebody gets, knock on wood, hurt, no, I don't. I really don't. Stolarz is, he's not overly young. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the heir apparent or anything like that. But with the tandem that we have right now, there's just no reason to change anything. There are a lot of teams out there that would love to have 1 good goaltender. We have 2, possibly 3 if you counted Knight. So I don't want to change anything there whatsoever. And, back to the thing about possibly moving on with Knight, or moving on from Knight, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it during the season. You see what I'm saying? Even if that's your plan, you don't do it until after the playoff run is over, possibly cup run, right? Because you might need him. You never know if something happens to a guy. And of course, that could change your whole desire of who you're going to trade and all of that. But, we've got, what is it? It's December 26th. We've got a few months before we got to know, what are we going to do with the trade deadline, et cetera, et cetera. There's a few guys that could get moved. Whoever gets moved there's going to be plenty of people that are going to be upset, disappointed that we moved on from him. But that's just the nature of the business. You can't pay everybody. It's just not possible. Last thing, I just wanted to go over the standings here real quick. The Bruins have 44 points. They've lost 4 straight. The Leafs have 40 points. Panthers have 40 points. The Lightning have 39. Then you've got the Red Wings with 36. The Canadiens with 35. Sabres 32. Senators 24. Now, the Senators look like they're way out of things, but I talked about this with Stu. I don't anticipate the Senators winning all their games in hand. But just to give you guys perspective, the Lightning are in a playoff spot with 35 games played and 39 points. If the Senators won all 6 games in hand, they'd only be 3 points out of the 8th seed, or at least that playoff spot if that's the 8th seed. So the point is that, it's tight. It's tight, right? We're a point ahead of the Lightning, but they got 2 games in hand, and we play them tomorrow night. So that's huge. That's a huge thing, okay? Because they got those 2 games in hand. And look, the Maple Leafs are right there. Excuse me. I'm backwards here. I'm absolutely backwards. We have 2 games in hand on the Lightning, but the Leafs have 2 games in hand on us. Okay. So it's just, I mean, when you look at the number of games that teams have all played, I mean, that's a lot of games fewer the Senators have played. They played only 29 games. So, and you can't discount the Canadians. I know most people probably don't think that they're going to play, that they're going to make the playoffs, but they ain't that far out. They're just not all that far out. They're 4 points behind. They're 4 points behind the Lightning, but they got 2 games in hand. They've only played 33, just like us. So overall, in terms of where I thought we would need to be at this point in the season, considering the injuries and everything like that, I'll go ahead. I'm going to give us an A-, because if you think about, if we would have said we'll be in third place at 40 points at Christmas, we all would have taken it fine. That's nice. However, we blew a couple of games that we really shouldn't have blown. Okay. We really blew a couple of games that we shouldn't have blown. And had we won those 2 games, we'd have 44 points. We'd be tied with the Bruins at the top of the division. That's what those games cost us. So win the games you're supposed to win, Panthers. It's not easy. It's not easy to win every game that you need to, but the games that you should against inferior teams, you got to win those games. All right, take a sip, and then I'll get into the second portion of the video. Okay, so I'm going to grade myself. I'm going to grade the channel. This is me and the channel. This is not you. It's not you supporters. The supporters get like A++++. It's let me. In fact, I'll just talk about that at the front end of this. The level of support that I get for the size of the channel that I am, it's an insult to the word obscene. It's just crazy the amount of support that you guys give Kyle and I and Stu. But Stu don't get paid. Stu's got a job. He don't need the money. Stu gets tickets. He gets tickets and cigars and clout. Stu's always telling me how everybody recognizes him at the game. So that's why I got to send Kyle down there in March, right? So that Stu understands that it's actually Kyle that's the star of the show. I'm playing with you. But yeah, I'll start by saying that. Thank you all for it's insane the amount of support that you give. And I couldn't do the channel. I mean, I couldn't do the channel, and that's what I'm going to get into in this back end here. I couldn't do the channel without that support. Because in terms of the health of the channel, all right, memberships, A++, right? But in terms of, I feel stagnant. I got the recaps and I got the reviews. And what I've tried to do is, after so many years, right? Excuse me, recaps. This is my 8th season, 3rd year of the reviews, 2nd year of the live streams. I feel like that's obviously the core. But I got this taste in my mouth. I was like, I need something. I need something else to kind of fill in the gaps. And I'll be straight. I'm very disappointed in that it hasn't mattered over the years. Whatever skit videos I've tried to do, it failed. The crazy Bill stuff, the views are terrible. I've tried to do the Bill Zito videos. Each one has gotten worse and worse and worse over time, to the point where the one previous didn't get 300 views. The one I put out last didn't get 200 views. That's depressing. That sucks, because that ability for me, because I love doing the recaps, I love doing the reviews, I love doing all of that, but that's just a small part of me. You know what I mean? The skits are really more closer to what I would actually want to do if I was just doing what I wanted to do, if that makes any sense. And so I thought I could add that into the channel and it would be a boost. It would help. And that has not been the case. I'm highly, highly disappointed about that because had that worked, that would have checked that box off for me. And then I could say, okay, I'm content with where I'm at with the channel and the content. But instead, I'm kind of left still searching for what I can add because there's only so much, right? Like I could do the videos. I know I've done a few of the videos where I do like a voiceover and I put the highlights in there and the clips, but that is so time consuming to edit out those clips. It's a 3-minute video and I got to sit in the chair for 2 hours and fry my eyes to edit the clips in a manner that they don't get copyrighted. Because if you put more than like with hockey, it's not as bad. You can put like a 6 or 7 second clip. With football, forget about it. Sometimes they ding you on a 3-second clip and they get you for the copyright. So the skits really suit my personality and who I am far more than those voiceover videos. The voiceover video, they did okay. They did do a little bit better, but it's not as reproducible and repeatable as the skit. The skit, I get the idea, I film it, I edit it up. I can get the idea, write script, film it, and have it out to you guys in an hour. The other ones, it's very, very time consuming. And, sometimes that'll leave me with, I've been working all day. I do that video and then I look up, I'm done editing and it's, I got to get ready for the stream in an hour. So, and so I kind of feel like that's kind of affected my energy. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and maybe it's just me because I'm comparing it to how the energy was with the playoffs and everything. You know what I mean? But I just feel like something is off. You know what I mean? I feel like something is off, and I thought that the skits would be like something to flesh out the channel, something that would make it a bit more whole. And so, being that that's not happened, being that that has not happened, to be honest with you, and I hate the way this sounds because it kind of sounds like I'm saying I'm taking my ball and going home. And I know some people might say, well, you shouldn't worry about views. Well, I mean, I don't mean this in any kind of way, but that's easy for somebody else to say who's not doing this. You know what I mean? For this is my 8th year. And so for me to put out a video and after 8 years, that, to not even get 200 views, I mean, that says something. You know what I mean? That really, as much as all of the financial support that you guys give me says something on one hand, my complete inability to bring this channel past a certain threshold views wise says something else, and I don't like it. So that is still under construction. That other piece to the channel that I'd like to add is still under construction. I'm trying to get ideas in my head to possibly bring the skits to the football channel, because if there's one thing that I have noticed in the difference in the fan bases, I thought about it for a while. And part of the reason why I thought the skits would work on this channel is because there's really nobody that does it for hockey. There's really not anybody that really does skits for the most part that I've seen for hockey. And I'm starting to find out why. It's because guys don't want it. The hockey fan base is significantly more serious, very, very much more serious than the football, right? With football, I can say things that are off the cuff and sarcastic and everything, and it seems like with the hockey, a lot of times people have a hard time understanding when I'm being serious and when I'm just shooting the shit. Even in the recaps, I will kind of catch heat for things that I'm saying, and I'm like, it's like, yeah, the point to the recaps is I'm over everything, right? The point to the recaps is to take everything that you guys might be thinking or feeling about any particular situation and overblow it, overdo it. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of that is me in there, but yes, it's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be, sometimes funny, sometimes over the top. That's the point. But a lot of times I'll get, told, calm down, quiet down, don't be so this, don't be so that. It's like, well, that's the point of the recaps. That's why I'm doing it, and that's why I started the reviews with Stu, because those are a little bit more structured and it's a little bit more of our serious opinion. And so I thought if I added in the skits, people would see that side of me a little bit more and kind of understand a little bit more, like when the recaps were like, oh, okay, this is it's not quite a shtick, but it's kind of a shtick. You know what I mean? That has not happened. The opposite has happened. I've had to delete nasty comments. You guys don't see them on the Bill Zito videos. You guys don't see them because I delete them. But there's about 100, 150 of you that will watch, maybe 200, but that will watch anything I put out. Anything I put out, you guys will watch it, and I can't be more grateful for that. But that number has been the same for 7 years. And that's the part that, that's a long time. That's a long time. I mean, I have a lot of subscribers, but in terms of and you guys are hardcore because you guys are paying the bills. But I have not been able to really grow that number. I mean, even the recaps and the reviews year over year, there's been no change for years. So I thought if I did the skits, I would appeal to a different audience, maybe grow things, and the opposite has happened. So that's frustrating. And I don't know that I have the time, right, to do like on a consistent basis, like I said, with the videos that are heavily edited and everything like that. And I don't have the, because I have the football channel and I have the eBay business. I mean, most days, I'm still working, right? So, I don't have the time to just sit back and watch all of the intricate details and what happened in all of the NHL games the night before and stuff like that. So, the good news, not this channel related, but the good news is I woke up yesterday and the football channel is monetized. So I can take super chats over there and all of that. And then I still need another like 400 and something subscribers to get to where I can put ad revenue on. Because the views on the football channel, I mean, like 80% of the videos go over 1,000 views. And I mean, it took me like 5 years to get a video over 1,000 views over here. I already have multiple videos on the football channel that have surpassed almost all of the highest videos on this channel. And I get it. Football is a bigger audience. The point there is that with a lot less effort on the football channel, I can make some extra money. And then that helps, it helps fill in the gaps here. But no, in terms, if I'm gonna grade myself in the channel right now, I'm gonna be straight with you. See, I don't. I feel like um like it's like, I don't know if it's me or if it's the channel, but it feels like something's missing. I can't quite put my finger on it. I kind of did. I wanted to be able to do what I do with all the serious stuff and have the skits, and that just ain't happening. I gave it. I mean, I did 7 of those videos, and the first few did okay, and then the one hit 300, and it only hit 300 because I reposted it in the community post, basically asking people, hey, what's going on here? And that one like crawled to 300, and this last one didn't even get to 2. And to not to have things fail at that level after all these years, that's a tough pill to swallow. So yeah, I'll grade myself out as a C, and I'll continue chugging. I'm not quitting or something like that. But yeah, I'll have to give myself a C. I am still searching for what I would feel like is the final piece that would flesh out the channel. But it has to be something that I can naturally do, and then it's easily repeatable and everything like that. And I mean, maybe I will just keep making the skit videos and hope that it works. I mean, I don't know, last 300, then down to 200. How bad can it get? Right? I guess I could look at it that way. I guess if the next one doesn't even get 100 views, here's your sign, right? So, all right. That's going to do it for today. I gotta edit this because I couldn't get the overlays to work right. So I've got to download it, put it in my editing software, and get all the stats lined up. And then I've got Trey at noon. We're going to have the review over on the football channel. And then I got to do my eBay pack and ship the day after Christmas. So I'm I'm spent for today, but there's no games tonight. So last thing. As an aside, half joking, half not. I joined DraftKings yesterday, and I placed 2 bets, and I won both, and I made $35. So, that's good. That's good. That's good. The in-game betting, I've never bet before like that. And then the in-game betting, that's where I won money. And I mean, I know, could be beginner's luck and everything like that, but it seemed like kind of obvious. Some of the picks that I made, it seemed like you're gonna give me that. Okay, yeah, I'll take that bet. And I know, football, anything can happen. So it was nice. If I could add that in as a little bit of extra income, right? That would make good for good skit videos. Me losing all my money. You guys probably enjoy that. So, all right. Appreciate all the support. Remember, this serves as the podcast for the day. And tomorrow I will be back with the normal format on the podcast. Remember, Patreon supporters only. Links from the description, $3 a month. Appreciate all of the support. Now we'll see you guys again tomorrow.